God, first time I heard heavy metal. I think like one of the local radio stations, like the first time I heard Priest, like PLJ or something like that. When they used to do rock, they did like one of those weekends, and they had like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, and I heard Judas Priest.
For me, it was a very, very long time ago.
Yeah.
What song from Priest did you hear?
The first one I heard was Living After Midnight. And, you know, before that it was, you know, like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. I was brought up in a household with Led Zeppelin, and more rock oriented, not so much metal. But I remember the first time I heard the song Black Sabbath, I think I was like,
That's the first time
I was in junior high school and I shit my pants. It was getting high at my friend's uncle's house. It was something like, you know, something like that, and they just like, you know, the rain came down and everything. You just heard it. They just broke open with these chords, and I was like, what the hell is that?
I was 8 years old, so it was, let's see, 30 years ago. 30 years ago, man.
What was the first band like, you know, that you were like a fan of? Like you just followed them, you want to know what they did?
Kiss.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely Kiss.
As well.
Yeah. When
I used to love Elton John, though, you know, before my metal days.
Goodbye, Looking for Us.
The days of the iron-on T-shirts. It's good old, yeah, iron-on.
Is he too high? Because they do look a little different. Is it okay, sure?
Yeah, I got
Is that all right?
my dad brought home Kiss Alive when I was like 7 years old. That was it. You know, I was completely consumed by it, and then from there, you know, went into, I guess, like, you know, when I was old enough to start going to concerts and stuff, it was like, you know, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and when we were younger, we used to go to Lamar's every weekend, you know, and saw a million bands, like Overkill and Saxon.
I used to go to drink
see
most
Metallica, Metallica and Wasp. And, I guess at the time, you know, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil was pretty, made a big impression on me. And what else? How many? We've seen so many bands.
First
Million
concert,
bands.
first concert, or second or third?
First was Kiss at the Garden in 1979 on the Dynasty tour.
T.T. Quick at Lamar. I was about, I must have been 16 or maybe 14 years old, something like that. It's the first live rock band I saw. You know, and they played all covers. They played AC/DC, and they played it great, and I was just blown away. You know, I snuck in and whatever, you know. They didn't really care how old you were.
First time I went to Lamar, I went to go see Saxon. I was like a sophomore in high school or something like that. And was that like the new wave British heavy metal, like a lot of those bands? That were
I never
coming
liked
along.
Saxon.
I did.
I
was-
liked
I was
their
hooked.
artwork.
It was pretty medieval. And you know, like for me, you know, there really wasn't. I didn't really have access to a lot of what was going on as far as like metal and stuff like that.
Tell me
He
about-
never had any money. I was the one that worked, so I used to like, come on, let's go out, you know, and we go,
Yeah.
we spend my paycheck in 2 nights.
He was working. I was still in school.
Tell me about the New York scene.
What New York City?
I don't know.
Ever seen
I
it?
must be completely ignorant to it because everything that's come out of New York, I've missed all of it. You know, I've seen saw a couple of bands.
There was
that-
a moment, you know, there was a moment in time.
Lamars, you know.
Yeah, in like circa like 1990, you know, there was Biohazard, and there was Life of Agony and Typo, you know, and there was something going on then. I thought, you know, as far as like bands coming out of, well, Brooklyn,
Yeah.
you know.
As far as like New York City and stuff, like a lot of the stuff that was going on, it was like,
Hardcore crossover.
yeah, the hardcore scene I totally missed. Bands like Agnostic Front and Cro-Mags and things like that, you know. But you know, you heard a lot about it, but you know, I wasn't going to CBs for matinees and stuff. You know, Carnivore, you know, where we originated from with Peter. They played a lot of the matinees.
Yeah, we played with those bands, though.
I
too.
remember bands like Circus of Power and stuff like that. They were around for a little while, and they kind of made a buzz. That was like late '90s or something, right? No, late '80s, early '90s.
Late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
And
When Typo broke out, we were like sort of at the tail. That was all like the tail end of that. You know, we played with the Cro-Mags. Remember that show we did in L.A. And you know, we went on tour with Biohazard and with the Exploited. You know, those were like the hardcore days for us. know, because we were playing this hardcore
Dude, I mean,
crossover
it was
stuff.
like, you know, you'd hear about all this stuff. Like, you know, I found out about all these bands that came out of New York, like, after they hit it. After they hit it big, and they're like, yeah, they're a New York band. I was, you know, completely ignorant to a lot of it.
What about the industrial scene?
Never really paid attention to it.
Well, I used to go out with Peter a lot. Peter was heavily into the industrial scene. You know, we used to go out to Limelight a lot. You know, I think it was Wednesday nights, industrial night, whatever. We used to hang out. You know.
That was more just socializing than it was like, you know, actually checking out, like, you know, being part of the scene, so to speak.
What about black metal?
We had our moments, you know. I
Well,
remember,
yeah. Well,
right,
what you consider
Venom.
Slayer black metal? Yeah,
Well, I think their roots came from it.
Yeah, I think black metal's based on Slayer.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, Venom.
Celtic Frost, loved Celtic Frost. Morbid Tales is a great record, classic album. What else was? What else would be like black metal?
That's about it for me.
I mean, that was
Never
it.
really went
That's
further
as
than
far
that.
as it went in my record collection.
What about like Nine Inch Nails Ministry? Any recollection?
Oh, those we toured with Nine
We
Inch
toured
Nails.
with
That
them,
was
yeah.
great.
That was like our first major tour, and I think Trent liked the band.
Trent like Typo.
He liked Typo, so he requested. I think he had like maybe what it was like 10 dates
There
or
was
something
10,
like that.
10 dates on the West Coast, and the band that was scheduled to open up broke up 3 days before the tour started. They just, you know,
So we had 2 days to get from
Yeah,
Brooklyn
to
to
Seattle.
Seattle.
Like
We
3
drove
days
straight
in a
in a van,
minivan.
and
When we
seeing
got
them.
there, we got to the Moore Theater in Seattle, and when we got to the venue, Trent Reznor was up in the Trust Focus and Lights.
And then
Yeah.
experiencing them, man, live for the first day, they just tore
They
my head off.
crowd
They were
hated us.
great. They were a great band to watch. I mean, it was hard for us though. We got booed, we got shit thrown at us. We got, you know, every night, man. It was the roughest, probably the roughest show we've ever played. Opening
Yeah,
slot.
playing for them was pretty tough.
But it was great. He had a big party with freaks every night, you know. We had a
But the
good
music
time.
was great.
Yeah.
Downward Spiral is a phenomenal record,
Yeah.
and it was a pretty hate machine.
We were replaced by
Really
Marilyn
good.
Manson. It was his first tour.
Yeah, after we did the first 10 dates, and then Marilyn Manson did the entire
You
tour.
get a
with
little
them.
interest now.
Yeah,
Mm.
a little bit invested, right?
Ministry, what about Ministry? Any thoughts on that?
Ministry was that Psalm 69 record, right? Jesus Built My Hot Rod and stuff. You know, I found out about him, like, you know, through MTV and stuff like that. From what I understand, before, like, those records, they were like a dance band or something. Like, you know, I've heard some of the earlier stuff, like, before, what was that other band that they had, that Al Jorgensen was a part of? They did that Sabbath cover of Supernaut. What's it called? Revolting Cocks? No. Is that it?
All I know is we were supposed to tour with them, like, you know,
A number
10
of
times, and
times.
it's bottomed out every time, you know.
That record was good.
Didn't we play with them once, though, in Europe, in Austria?
No, we did it. That was Sisters of Mercy.
Sisters of Mercy, it was. All right.
Tell me about some
I saw Ministry play on Lollapalooza in '92 at Jones Beach. That was pretty cool. Just remember them being really, really loud. Like to the point where it was like a lot of the stuff, like I couldn't like grab onto anything because it was just so loud and so like overwhelming. It was hard to understand. Like not too much comprehension. But the show looked great.